Great to be here.
We just want to get our recording and our Facebook stream set up here, but keep talking.
Yeah, but just FYI for those people who are on the call, because we have so many guests here tonight, we typically don't manage our time. You all know this. We try to let people talk on and on, but because we have so many people and we want to honor people and their time, we're going to have hard stops. So we're going to give like 8 minutes, and we have like real hard stops, probably for the first time in Philly for Change history.
Okay. You can just mute me if I go too long.
No, Sam. Sam's going to be the person to do it, Michele.
Yeah.
Okay, you got the hook.
I'm going to make you a co-host right now.
No hooks. How is everybody?
Hey,
Good,
Sam, how are you?
Good. Sam, I'm blaming you. I told everybody that they have hard stops after 8 minutes, and if they did it, then Sam's coming for you.
Oh yeah, I do. I do have that hook. Yes, I have my 8-minute hook. Yeah, I know it doesn't seem like a lot of time, but you know, we do have a full schedule tonight.
That's actually pretty generous compared
Okay.
to some opportunities. So.
Well, good. For those who have their scorecards with them, I have a change in the schedule. I would like to switch Christopher Hall with Greg. Is that possible, Melissa?
Well, Greg is here. Greg, did I
Greg is
not see
here.
you? I feel
Okay.
like I saw Greg.
Is Craig here?
I don't
Greg
see
is here.
Greg.
Greg is
Oh,
here.
maybe
Greg is here.
Liberty City. He's Liberty City, I think.
All
Hey,
right.
Craig. There's Craig.
Okay. Because we did.
Yeah, we have Greg and Craig.
I swore I saw Greg here just a few minutes ago.
I saw Liberty City. Is that?
That's Greg.
That's
Hey.
Greg.
That's Greg.
Oh, he's on mute right now.
If
So you want to switch Christopher and Greg? Is that what you're saying, Sam?
Yeah, because I had a request from Christopher Christopher Hall to move up, and you know, since the 807 is usually a very good spot, I thought, and also since there are some people who have sent us schedules and some who haven't, so I was hoping that maybe we could move Greg to the 807 slot.
Well, I'm going to ask Greg if he's listening right now. I hope that he'll be okay with that. So we'll switch Greg from 7:05 to 8:07. Is that correct?
From 7:14 to 8:07. Yeah.
Is that Craig or Greg?
That's Greg. Greg with a G.
Oh, I thought he was at 7. I'm seeing him on the schedule for 7:05.
Isn't Craig Levin in for 7:05?
I see Craig for 7:14.
Aha. Okay. Well, yeah. So Craig can go at 7:05, and Christopher Hall. Is Christopher Hall here?
I don't know that he's here.
Okay.
There's Greg. Hey, Greg.
Hey guys, I'm sorry. I had some problems with my sound.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Oh, I'm out of breath. Hey, Melissa.
Hey, Greg. So, Sam, you wanna break the news to Greg?
No, I mean, so Christopher Hall.
Oh God, what happened?
Well, so I had a request for your time slot, and I moved you back to 8 o'clock. But if that's a bad time for you, I can.
No. You know, I'm late to the party, so I don't have much of a choice. So I'm ready to roll.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So that's okay, Greg?
They should have the
That's fine.
for their event tonight.
Thank you so much. I remember things like that.
Yeah, join the group.
Thank you so much, Greg. We really appreciate you being so
No
kind.
problem.
Their event.
No problem, Melissa.
Okay. Sam, is Chris here?
Is Christopher Hall here? Well, I have him at
Hi.
7:14. Is Craig Levin here?
No.
I am here. I am here.
Meetup.
Yeah.
So
Oh
why
my
don't we
God.
start with
Liberty's,
Craig and then go to
Liberty for
Christopher?
Change meetup. I'm sorry, I'm looking at
So-
Greg. Oh, you already, I thought Liberty City.
Do you want to do that, Sam?
Yes.
Right, right.
Okay.
So let's do let's do see let's do Craig. If Craig is here, Craig can go first, and if Christopher Hall isn't here by 7:14, then Greg can go.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, in
All right.
2 minutes, we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to start on time at 7:05 very promptly, and we're going to start with Craig, and you'll be the first one up, Craig Levin, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, and before we get started, I just want to remind folks at 7:03 that Philly for Change has been around since 2004. We actually we grew out of Philly for Howard Dean which actually got started in the spring of 2003. So we've been doing this for a long time, with more than 15 years. And ever since 2006, we have been doing endorsements in races, both locally and for statewide, and we even do a presidential endorsement. And one of the great benefits for having a monthly meetup is that we do get to meet some of the folks who are running for one of our most important offices, the bench. And we always feel good when we're able to get more people connected with the folks who are running for the bench in the state of Pennsylvania. So without further ado, I guess Beth, do you want to introduce Craig?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Beth Finn, and I am part of the steering committee for Philly for Change. We're so glad to have you all here tonight. Thanks for joining us. And our first speaker is going to be Craig Levin. He's running for the Court of Common Pleas in Philadelphia. And I don't want to take up too much of your time, Craig. I'll turn it right over to you.
Thank you, Beth, and thank you, everybody, for having me here tonight. One of my favorite parts of running for judge in 2019 was going to the Tattoo Mom and speaking before your group. I mean, that place is just an iconic Philadelphia bar. Unfortunately, we can't be there tonight, and I guess this is the next best thing. So I know some people out there know who I am, but I think it's really important for any candidate for a judge that you let people know who you are, what you've done with your life, so that anybody who wants to support us will know what they're going to get if we're up there sitting on the bench. I want to talk about really a couple different things. First is service, experience, and how that dovetails into equality. So as far as service, I spend a lot of time doing pro bono work. In the last year or so, I've done in excess of 80 cases of pro bono work. I volunteer my time for the Senior Law Center, where we provide pro bono work for seniors that can't afford legal services. I'm also, for the last 10 years, I've been the pro bono counsel for Celea. It's an organization made up of Spanish American citizens raising money for various different things, like buying iPads, which we donate to Philadelphia schools for use with autistic kids. It had a tremendous benefit. We've raised money and sent some of our members over to Puerto Rico to help repair the damage done by Hurricane Maria. But when I ran for judge in 2019, I was able to see two areas that were really important in the city where I felt that I could really make things better for our citizens. During the course of time, and I know Melissa out there is friendly with Tracy Gordon, who is our Register of Wills. One of the big issues that she brought up were tangled titles, where people's title to their properties were tangled up because they never probated wills going back 10, 20, 30 years. I've handled over a dozen of these cases just probably in the last 6 months. They're very difficult, time-consuming cases. Most of the time, people they can't negotiate with the guesswork or PICO, or if they have a problem with their roof, they can't get home equity loans because they don't own the property. So I spent a lot of time trying to untangle some of these titles. One of the biggest areas, and when you're running for judge, these are the questions that you usually get, is criminal justice reform. And I really felt I could make a difference there. So I joined this group, Community Forgiveness and Restoration Initiative. It is a reentry program for citizens returning into society. I started volunteering my time, and then they asked me to be a board member. It's a tremendous program. It was started by Tommy Robinson, who's a lifer at SCI Phoenix. And it's a program where on Tuesdays and Thursdays prior to the pandemic, we would go to the prisons and start to develop relationships with those citizens who were going to be leaving prison shortly. So Tommy would prepare them on the inside. When they got to the outside, we had 5-week boot camps, which we did at Temple University. We did that for about 5 or 6 hours on 5 straight Saturday mornings. And we would get usually between 40 to 50 citizens. We would have speakers, motivational speakers, accountants, lawyers, former, incarcerated citizens. And what I saw is the same thing I saw when I coached youth sport for about 17 years. When you believe in people, when you give them the motivation, when you let them know that you're behind them and you're there to help them, it helps them change their lives. And I truly believe, and I've lived my life this whole way, that we can make the society better if we take the time to help other people. And that's been a big component of who I've been forever. So I think it's important to know what we've done with our time. I'm not going to just come up here and give you buzzwords like implicit bias and all that stuff. I actually spend my time, many, many hours a week helping people. And I think that's important to know. My experience, I've been a trial lawyer for 33 years. I've handled over 2,000 cases. I've tried cases in federal court, in state court, in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. I've tried criminal cases, civil cases, orphan court cases. I've been doing a lot of pro bono family court work in custody matters in the last year or so. And I think it's really important when you're looking for the qualifications of a judge that you see that they're comfortable in the courtroom and they know how the courtroom works. I could only tell you from being a lawyer that the best judges I've ever been before are judges that I know were previous trial lawyers, that they knew how the system works. I could assure you that if I'm sitting up on the bench, I know exactly how the litigants feel. I know how the stress that the lawyers go through to get to the point where they're in the courtroom before a judge. And I know the nervousness and the stress that the litigants go through. And the one thing that I will always do in my courtroom is make sure people are comfortable, that they get their day in court, and they'll always be treated fairly, with dignity and respect. And there's a lot of judges out there that don't do that. They are nasty and they make it very difficult on the litigants and very difficult on the attorneys. If I'm working on a case for 4 years and I finally get into the courtroom and I have a judge that will just not let me do my job, it really hurts me, it hurts my client, and I'll never be a judge like that. I've seen good judges, I've seen bad judges, and I know how to act in a courtroom. So I think when you look at evaluating people for this position, I think it's really important that you know who they are on the inside, as well as the experience they have. And the last thing I think is important is our life experiences. I grew up in West Oak Lane. I lived there till I was 14. It's a predominantly African-American community and was one of the best, most valuable experiences of my life. When I was 14, my parents got divorced and my mom moved my sister and I to the Northeast, where I went to public school. I then went to Temple, and I always had to work my way throughout life, starting at 14 when I was a paper boy, why I was in high school, and I'm going to date myself here, you'll realize how old I am, is I worked as a dishwasher in a discotheque from 1977 to 1979. I'd work to 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'd have to be in high school the next morning, but I always had to work because we didn't have much to go on. And if I wanted something for myself, I had to go out. I wanted to drive. I needed money to pay gas. I had to work. I bartended my way through college. I worked in the Elan and the Brasserie and the Warwick Hotel. If any of you are as old as I, you'll remember those places. And again, I would work to 4 o'clock in the morning. I remember having 8 o'clock economic classes, which I have to say I didn't always make. Sometimes I kind of missed those classes. We didn't have Zoom back then. But I'm a hard worker. I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty. I'm not afraid to help people. And I don't know if my time is up or I'm close, but
Yeah, well, we're down to 30 seconds.
okay. So I think one of the last events I went with Lisa Dealey, and we came during the presidential election to the Tattooed Mom before the whole world shut down. You guys are a great and very passionate group, and thank you for letting me come and speak to you tonight.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Right on, right on the dot. Thank you, Craig.
To cope with the sharp rise in coronavirus cases. In fact, the nation has seen some of the world's highest rates of new infections in recent days.
I'm going to ask you to mute for a second.
That's not the.
All right.
Do we have Mr. Christopher Hall?
Yes, Chris is here.
Oh, awesome.
I'm here. Yes, Sam.
Okay. Well, Beth, I think I'm going to go ahead and just do the introduction. Folks, there are a couple of folks who have the highest recommendation from the Philadelphia Bar Association. One, actually, I think they're both going to be here with us. One of them is our speaker right now, Christopher Hall. And we're asking folks to speak for 8 minutes. I should say we're rather tight.
No worries. Thank you very much, Philly for Change. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. It's also a real pleasure to see my friend Michele Hangley and Craig Levin, who I met in the last cycle. And there are, of course, there are a number of other judges who, although I don't know them personally, come with a wonderful reputation. So thank you for having me tonight. Why am I running for judge? I'm a partner in a 400 lawyer law firm. I've been a prosecutor for federal prosecutor more than a decade now, criminal defense more than a decade. And I'm running for judge for the same reason that you all are here tonight and that you all participate in this great organization. We all want change. We all want the best for the Philadelphia court system, which is likely kind of the most intimate and probably the first and most important interaction citizens will have with their government. And so we owe it to our citizens, we owe it to the people of Philadelphia to have the best bar possible. And that means a lot of things. It means a diverse array of experiences. I come as one of the few highly recommended candidates. I think Michele Hangley also enjoys that wonderful distinction. And my experience, and I'd like to talk about that for a little bit. And the goal for me would be to leverage that experience so it's not one client, one case at a time, but using my experience for 40 people that come into a courtroom every single day. As a federal prosecutor, the single case that I'm most proud of was the first environmental justice case brought here in the Eastern District of Pennsylvania. I prosecuted an international corporation called Bunzl Corporation that had hired a contractor to demolish the old Grant Paper Company down on Delaware Avenue before it was known as Christopher Columbus Boulevard. And on an Easter Sunday, they took the big ball to the building without removing any of the asbestos in the building and carted it off behind a neighborhood in Southwest Philadelphia on the Cobbs Creek Parkway and dumped it there. That became a hazardous waste site, and the corporation pled guilty and paid more than $1 million to clean it up. And the heavy trucks from that demolition crew had cracked the foundations of that row of homes. Bunzl paid $25,000 to each individual homeowner to repair those cracks. As far as the individual non-union contractor, he went to jail for 18 months. I've had a number of cases like that. That's the one, as a federal prosecutor, that's the one I'm most proud of. On the defense side, judges call me up and ask me to represent people that can't afford counsel. The one particular, Byron White, who Judge Surik on the federal bench asked me to represent, was charged with bank fraud. He put his trust in my hands, and after a month-long jury trial against my former office, which wins 98% of its cases, the jury vindicated him and found him not guilty. It's those sorts of experiences that have given me the most satisfaction. And what I would seek to do is, as that one of the city's judges, would be to leverage that experience and to make it happen with procedural fairness every single day. I think one of the best ways to evaluate people is third-party evaluations. The highest and best ranking of lawyers that are used by sophisticated clients, it's called Chambers USA. It has various bands, and I'm ranked in band 1 for Chambers USA for white-collar criminal defense. And I'm proud to be part of a wonderful cadre of colleagues in the Philadelphia bar that have that distinction. I was also recognized by Janet Reno, if you were old enough to remember the Clinton administration, for bringing the first healthcare fraud case in Philadelphia. And I was awarded the Director's Award, which it goes to the top 3 prosecutors nationally. In addition to being highly recommended by the bar, the Philadelphia Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers in 2019 awarded me and a wonderful partner of mine, Justin Denilevitz, the Alan J. Josel Award for Advocacy, which we had 2 wins that year in the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, establishing a new kind of procedural right to reputation for subjects of criminal investigations before statewide grand juries. In terms of public service, like Craig, it's been part of my DNA my entire life. As soon as I went into private practice, my firm asked me to be its representative to the Philadelphia Diversity Law Group. And what we do, it's a consortium of law firms and companies. The most important job for any law student is the year between their 2nd and 3rd year of law school. It's when they get evaluated for full-time offers. What we do is we identify diverse law students between their 1st and 2nd year, when it's really hard, very few jobs available. And we place them in law firms, including my law firm. We pay them as though they're a 2nd to 3rd year law students, so they really helps them get through law school. And we mentor them. We give them reading. It's writing instruction, kind of how you comport yourself in an office, how you identify an assignment, how you map out an assignment, how you communicate with the partners about when it's due. And after that, we kind of release them back in a pay it forward model where they have no obligation to come back to us, but we've prepared them to successfully interview for and get that coveted 2nd year job. The other kind of public service aspect that I'm most proud of is my wife and I founded an organization with some friends called the Breakthrough Bike Challenge. It's a once a year bike ride that raises research dollars for Penn Medicine, the Abramson Cancer Center. And we've raised close to $2 million. And these funds go to young researchers who, it's a chicken and egg problem that they have. They can't get big NIH grants unless they have data, and they can't get data unless they have a grant. So we fund them. And I'm proud to say that last year's crop, we awarded 3 grants, and 2 out of the 3 got R01 grants from NIH, which are multi-million-dollar grants to do research. So that's the kind of leverage that we've achieved in the cancer research field. And it's that same concept of leverage that motivates me to be a judge. I think I'll close with, like Craig, I was a youth sports coach. soccer, and typically at the end of a season, there are tournaments, and tournaments cost money, extra fees. And we drew our youth sports league drew from a diverse array of kids across the city. And my wife and I always made sure that every kid in that program could participate in the postseason tournaments, regardless of their ability to pay. So public, in summation, I come before you with what I hope you will find as third-party kind of validation with experience on both sides of the aisle as a federal prosecutor and now as a criminal defense attorney with a record of public service, all of which informs my sense of how to make a courtroom a positive, meaningful, safe experience for victim, witnesses, and defendants, where they all, regardless of the judgment, would come away with a sense that they've had an opportunity to be heard in a respectful environment. And for that reason, I would ask that for your support, and thank you for this opportunity to speak with you tonight.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Right on the spot. Thank you.
Absolutely. So up next, hi everybody, my name is Melissa Robbins, and I'm also a member of the steering committee, just in case we haven't met. But our next candidate for judge is vying for a seat on the Pennsylvania State Supreme Court. And truly, it is my honor to introduce her. She is a hometown girl. She's a graduate from Overbrook High School. She's a former legislative assistant to the late great council member, Augusta Clark. She's a graduate from Temple University, go Owls, so am I. She's also a graduate from Temple Law. She earned her master's in trial advocacy at Temple Law, as well as an MBA at Eastern University. She was elected to the Court of Common Pleas in 2011, and she is currently a justice on the Pennsylvania Superior Court, hoping to be Supreme Court. Welcome everybody, Judge Carolyn Nichols.
I'll just let Melissa speak it into existence. So thank you so much, Philly for Change. It's great to be here. I just came from Upper St. Clair, Allegheny County. I've been in rural caucus, and I'm getting ready to head out to Lebanon County caucus once I leave you all, because running statewide, well, if it wasn't for the pandemic, which is a horrible thing, but we would have to be driving to all these places. So instead I can do 8 meetings per night. So I'm going to be very brief. We're used to 3 minutes in our meetings generally. So it's great to be here again. As Melissa said, I currently serve on the Superior Court. I am a candidate for the Supreme Court. I come to you as a second generation attorney. My dad, was a Tuskegee Airman, came up through segregation, was a pioneering assistant district attorney under then DA Richardson Dilworth. And he was one of the first groups of Black ADAs that were allowed to practice in common pleas court. Because before Richardson Dilworth, if you were Black or a woman in the DA's office, you could only practice in municipal court. You weren't allowed to do jury trials, felony trial. A lot of what we heard with these complex criminal court cases, simply because of the color of your skin, you were not allowed to do that practice. So we see even today, from my dad's time, that we're still struggling as Americans with systemic racism and explicit and implicit bias to this day. I mean, I was personally excited to hear our president, our new president, talk about with the slew of executive orders in which he declared that racial justice and equity is at the center of his government. And racial justice and equity should be at the center of the agenda for our courts. And we know many times it's not. We know of the overrepresentation, everybody on this call knows about the overrepresentation of Black people and people of color in our criminal court systems, even in a diverse city as Philadelphia. I think in Philadelphia facilities, something like 80% of the people are Black in the system, even though we're about 50% of the population. Statewide, it's about 40% of the people in state institutions are Black and people of color, but yet we're only 11 to 13% of the population statewide. So we're struggling with a lot of the issues that was in my dad's time, but I'm where my dad couldn't be. I've been able to have a practice 20 years as a civil litigator. I've been able to serve in Philadelphia courts as assistant district attorney. I handle hundreds of cases in federal state court, appeals to Commonwealth court, have my own practice, and I have my bio in the chat with more details. We don't have to belabor the time. In my own practice. One of the last cases I handled before I was elected to the Court of Common Pleas was a case in which a pool case, we got an international attention in which young Black, Latinx, and Latinx children were prevented from using a pool simply because of the color of their skin. So we see, and that was in 2010 that happened. So we even see from 2010 to my dad's time, we are still struggling as a society with these issues. Currently, I sit on the Court of Common Pleas, in Superior Court, where we hear the appeals of cases from Common Pleas Court, about 5,000 to 6,000 per year, 60% criminal, civil, family, orphans court, and juvenile court. So finally, I'll leave you with why the Supreme Court, why me, why now? The Supreme Court is the final word in the law of the state, determines the constitutionality of issues, determines cases before it, but the decisions that the Supreme Court makes affects citizens in all 67 counties, whether they're involved with the court or not. It sets precedential cases. Not only does the Supreme Court decide cases, but it supervises all attorneys and judges throughout the state. Determines the rules of conduct, how should they behave, determines the rules of court, how should the courts operate. So all of this precedent setting, life-changing decisions, there are no people of color at the top at making those decisions at that table. Since only one Black justice in 300 years of this court. Now, the Supreme Court is the oldest appellate court in the United States. And there's only been one Black justice elected, and that was Justice Nix in the 1970s. 2 Black women justices were appointed interimly, but only one Black justice has been elected. And with the disparity of representation, certainly of people of color within our system, that's not representativeness, that's not diversity, that's not justice. So the time to change is now. As a jurist in my career and as a lawyer, I'm committed to the Constitution, making it live in our courtrooms, because it's up to us as the judges to hold this country to its promise of equal justice for all. That is our job, that is our mission. And that's what we should be doing in these courtrooms day in, day out, whether we are doing trial, appellate, wherever we are in the system, that is our mission. And that is what I'm committed to. So I come to you with the experience, with the merit, committed to treat all people with humanity, justice, based on the rule of law, not on politics, not politicization that we've seen, and independent and transparent judiciary. That's what everyone wants to see, regardless of their background, frankly, throughout this state or anywhere. They want a fair and impartial judge, an independent judge that's going to make decisions based on what's in the courtroom and not politicize decisions as we've seen of late. So I come to you with the merit. I was rated highly recommended by the Pennsylvania Bar Association. So I'm ready to go by on day one. I had the values, I'm committed to integrity, hard work that my dad taught me, and that the purpose of the rule of law is to help and benefit everyday people. So I'm gonna stop there. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to me. I left my bio and further information in the chat. I know you have other candidates coming through. So I certainly thank you for your attention. And if there are any questions, I certainly will entertain them if there are any.
Thank you, Judge Nichols.
Yeah, great. Does anyone have a question for Judge Nichols? Okay then. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I hate to talk and run, but have to go to other counties around the state, at least virtually. So thank you so much for your attention and listening to me. Thank you all.
See you, Carol. Beth?
Are we back on our regular schedule, or?
Yeah, I think we are we're right on our regular schedule.
Okay, so our next speaker is going to be Michele Hangley, who has been in, she joined us last meetup to talk about some of the election law cases that had been going on. And we are happy to welcome her back today to tell us about her candidacy for judge of Court of the Common Pleas. Michele.
Hi, it's great to see everybody again. And I really, like everyone, I really wish that we were at Tattooed Mom and not on Zoom, but it's nice to see your faces. So why I want to be a judge. Judges have affected my life in a positive way from the very beginning of my adult life. When I was 16 years old, Judge Maritani on the Court of Common Pleas ordered the School District of Philadelphia to open Central High School to girls. It was, for those of you of my age, it was an all-boys school before then. And 6 of us enrolled at the school, joined by another 20, and we went through our year of high school, my senior year of high school, with 25 girls and 1,000 boys. Judge Maritani took a lot of harassment from all over the country for the decision that he made. It was very unpopular, but he did the right thing. And he was smart, he was careful, and courageous. And much more recently in my career, I've seen the same thing from the judges in Pennsylvania. That's when I was handling the election work. I handled more than 20 cases for either the Secretary of State, Kathy Boockvar, or for a group of counties, including Philadelphia, Delaware, Chester, basically the large counties. We litigated against the Trump campaign, against candidate Ziccarelli in Allegheny County. We were successful in overcoming her challenges, which resulted in Senator Brewster taking the bench in the Pennsylvania Senate. We've defended drop boxes. We fought against signature verification requirements on ballots. We kept the Philadelphia ballot counting from being shut down over an issue of how close observers could get. There were more cases than I could count, and often more cases that would allow me to get any sleep. But what happened consistently through all those cases is that judges, including conservative Republican judges, Trump appointees, did the right thing time after time after time. They worked hard, they were smart, and they, despite what they might have felt personally about the outcome of the election, they did the right thing. And again, they took abuse for it. I believe that I can be that kind of judge. I also believe, as Craig brought up, there are a lot of judges out there who are not like that. One of my first experiences as a lawyer was representing a pro bono client, a young man who had snuck into the country from Iraq and sought political asylum. And we were before an immigration judge that abused him, that abused me, that issued a written opinion calling me repugnant and reprehensible, were his words, when I was a first year law student. And over 10 years and many, many hundreds of hours, we appealed that case, brought it all the way up to the appellate courts. The judge was removed first from the case and then from the bench, won asylum for him. And just last year, I went to his naturalization ceremony. So it was a long road for that particular case. I've never forgotten how that judge made me feel and made my client feel, and that was bad. And I swore at that time that if I ever had the chance, there's no way I would allow that to happen. And I in the long run, was able to keep it from happening to my client, and I would never allow it to happen in my courtroom. So why I believe that I'm qualified, that I can be that kind of judge. I believe I bring the tools. I'm a hard worker. I'm a good lawyer. I've got the skills. I've got more than 20 years of experience as a civil litigator. As I believe Sam pointed out, I'm highly recommended by the Philadelphia Bar Association. That's an honor that's given to, so far, less than 10% of the judges who run for court in Philadelphia. I have been hired over and over again by the Department of State to defend them in their highest profile cases. I believe that my clients speak for me, even when they can't speak out loud for me. They speak for me by retaining me. And I would bring those same skills to the bench and that same hard work that I do every day for my clients. Second reason is that I'm a child of the city. I was raised in Mount Airy. I live in South Philadelphia now. I went to Philadelphia public schools all the way through. I know the city well. I care a lot about it. And I have done work for this community through my entire career, through pro bono work, for asylum applicants. I work with the ACLU and the Pennsylvania Innocence Project to challenge wrongful convictions. I've done, through my representation of asylum clients, I developed a real love for, caring about immigrant communities, vulnerable communities. So for many years, I was on the board of Nationality Service Center, which sponsors refugees and represents and helps immigrants of all kinds. I have a daughter I'm a single parent of a daughter who's a middle schooler at a charter school. And the two of us are involved together in our community. Back when people could sing, we sang together at our church, which is St. Peter's Episcopal. We're very close to Tattooed Mom. And the last reason I think I could bring to the bench what I hope the judges should be is that I have faced a lot of challenges and I am tough. I faced it at Central when we got harassment from all over the country, although in those days the harassment came in envelopes with our address written on them. So it was a lot easier to throw away. I showed that again a couple days after the election when I was sent in the convention center to talk to Trump's lawyers about some complicated and frantic things that were happening during the ballot count. I had what I think is a very boring conversation, honestly, like we lawyers often do. But it was taped by Corey Lewandowski, Trump's former campaign manager, and he tweeted it out along with my contact information. And it got retweeted 10,000 times, at least the last time that I looked. And it's not something I had experienced before. My phone blew up. My office switchboard got shut down. My email system got shut down because of the number of things coming in. And I found it scary, but it was all fine. Everything blew over. And I think it was a good experience for me to know that this is sometimes what judges have to deal with. More than sometimes. They don't tell us what they go through, but they do. People threaten, people call names, and sometimes people do worse. I proved again that I'm able to take that and can be unflappable, at least on the outside, not always on the inside. So I will put my contact information in the chat. You can learn more about me on my website. I really appreciate your time, and I hope I have not gone over 8 minutes.
Oh, no, yeah, you're right there. Thank you so much.
Okay.
And I'm thank you so much, Michele. Next up, we have another Superior Court judge. I believe I'm getting that right. My quick story. My daughter has been running into our state representative, Mary Isaacson, a lot, and Dorothy's home because of the COVID, and she likes to bend the ear of anybody she comes to. So we've been running into Mary Isaacson, and Mary has been chatting with my daughter. Anyway, Mary has recommended to us Judge Maria McLaughlin, and I believe you're here.
I am here.
Oh, terrific.
Does the crazy background not give it away, Sam?
That is Maria McLaughlin. Thank you very much.
It's pretty obvious. That's who I am. And I am so honored to have Representative Isaacson, not only as a supporter, but as my friend. I am also humbled to have our great Representative Malcolm Kenyatta as chair of my campaign, along with Joanna McClinton, our new great leader. They're just some of the great names that lend themselves to my campaign, and I don't take it lightly. I have names like that all over the state. But what I do need is groups like yours. I am in so much gratitude, first and foremost, to be on our court, on the Superior Court. And I would not be here if it wasn't the great groups like you. I started with Lehigh Valley for All, which is an equivalent group in Lehigh Valley. I was the first statewide candidate that they endorsed. And now it's amazing to see how they've grown. They're now candidates and elected officials themselves. So indivisible groups all throughout the state. That's who got us elected in 2017. But Will, I will say how I stand out from every candidate that ran in 2017 is that I was the only one who went to all 67 counties. Now, why is that important? When you're a statewide elected official, it's not just Philadelphia, it's not just Pittsburgh, it's all the little counties in between that feel so neglected, like Snyder and Sullivan and Huntington, and because they're red. And people think, discount them because we have more votes in our 51st ward than they do in their whole county. Well, guess what? I didn't discount them. And when I sent out my blast email to say that I am running, they were the first ones that got back to me that they are 100% for me. It's because I paid them the respect and showed up. And that's important because I came out first. And that helped statewide. First, not only in Philadelphia, but statewide. And why is that important? This is only one seat. There aren't multiple seats, and we have to win it in the end, folks. This is an end game. We have to beat the Republican. And trust me, if I wasn't the top vote getter, I wouldn't be here. Maybe I would be seeing you in one of our bars or restaurants or grocery stores, but I wouldn't be here asking for your support. I'm here because I know I can win this seat in the end. I know I can bring all these great local judicial candidates with me because they carried me when I ran for Superior Court. We run on the heels of all the great locals. I was a local too when I ran for Court of Common Pleas. But the other reason, besides respect, that I did it was because I wanted to be a better Superior Court judge. Today, I had a case from Sullivan County. Not only do I know that I went to the D&D Brew Bar, and I was the only statewide candidate that showed up there, but now I got to visit there, spend time with the folks. And when I get a case with this easement, and the judge got off the bench and went to the location of the easement, as a Philadelphian, I would say, is this judge crazy? I could see a Philadelphia judge getting off the bench. But no, because I went there and spent time there, I know as an error correcting court, the judge did exactly what they were supposed to do. So that's why I went to all 67 counties. And that's why I have the support of most of these counties, if not all of them. And we'll know soon with the endorsement policy. But a little bit about myself. We know the importance of the judiciary. We certainly know the importance of our Pennsylvania Supreme Court, without which none of our votes would have counted here. So I don't think I need to say anything more about the importance of this one seat. I know we have the majority here now, but guess what? It doesn't matter because cases are just a small portion of what the Supreme Court does. We appoint to boards and commissions. And so don't you want a Democrat making those appointments? I know I do. And so that's why it's important too, as to who you elect, can they win, and will we have a voice there? You will have a voice with Judge Maria McLaughlin. I started off my career in the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office fighting for kids. One of the programs I am most proud of that was implemented by me along with the ACLU and the courts is a program where civil defendants, who most folks don't know, have no right to a representation. You only have the right to representation in a criminal case, but guess what? I was the chief of the child support unit, and you can go to jail for not paying your child support, up to 6 months. But most folks in Philadelphia don't just have one child with one person. So that means you could go to jail for 18 months with 3 children. And I thought that wasn't right. As a prosecutor, I should not be prosecuting folks who don't have an attorney and have a loss of liberty, possibly. And so that program is now in effect. And I started that program over 25 years ago. And I'm proud of that because that's who I am. That's who you get regardless of what side I'm on. I was fighting for kids. When I left that office, I always say the scariest thing I ever had to do in the district attorney's office was resign for judge. I had to resign to run for judge. I was there 19 years. I worked my way up from the bottom. I was the first female and youngest chief ever appointed in the history of Philadelphia. It's probably not that way now because we changed and now we have a lot of young females. But when I was there, I took over for a 72-year-old and I was in my 30s and that was unheard of. Thank God it's not like that today. But I left there and I did criminal defense work. I did real estate work. I know what it's like on both sides. That's also important. But again, the scariest thing I did as a single mom with 2 boys and 70 vacation days in the bank was resign. But I had to do it because I lead by example with my boys. They don't listen to me. They're both artists now, but I did want them to go into the law. Didn't work. Peace Corps volunteer, photojournalist, and a chef. But I was there when they were young, and I told them, do whatever it is that makes you happy. And I showed them by leaving with no job and 70 vacation days in the bank. And then guess what happened? 2 weeks later, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. And I said, even for me, too much. I'm not doing it. Told my mother, that's it. I sold my house, moved into her apartment complex in Center City to take care of her. And unbeknownst to me, my mother stood outside Rittenhouse Park with no hair on her head, lost it right after her first treatment, and got me every single signature I needed in one weekend to be on the Court of Common Pleas ballot. Why do I tell you that story? I am my mother. I'm a product of my mother. If you support me, that's who you get, a fighter. Not only somebody who's worked their way from the bottom. I didn't have any role models in my house educationally. My parents weren't lawyers. My parents couldn't help me with a college application. They couldn't help me with anything. If I told my parents I was going to the Peace Corps, they would say, if it's out of Overbrook, you're not going. Okay, but as a single mom, I did it and I let my kids go, but I was the first one in my family to go to college. I didn't have anybody to say, take over their practice or anything like that. My parents made me go to college. I had to work 3 part-time jobs and also a cheerleading scholarship. Am I done?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No.
I've had to enforce the 8-minute rule.
Look, I never talk so long in any single place. I'm used to 2 minutes. Here in Philly, you really let us talk. All I want to say is I'll come back again and again. Vote for me, Judge Maria McLaughlin. And you see all these local candidates? I'm going to bring them right along with me. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Tiffany and I live in Point Breeze. And I'm a single mother as well of 2 beautiful daughters. But I'm also an advocate in my community, and I'm really an advocate for African-American males. I have uncles, brothers, nephews. What are some of the things that you have done in the past to help African-American males progress? Meaning that right now, you know, the state of Philadelphia, state of Pennsylvania, but Philadelphia County, period, we have a lot of young Black males that are being murdered in the streets. And there's a lot of social issues. There's a lot of other things that that comes up, you know, that happen. So what have you done in the past, you know, just being in the position that you've been in and the things that you've done to try to specifically help our African-American males?
I am so glad you asked that. So when I was a district attorney and a judge on the Court of Common Pleas,
Yeah.
you want me to answer it?
Go on, yeah, but if you could keep it brief.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ms. White.
Sam, I've got good news. The
Yeah.
good news is the next person who's due to talk, Judge Canty, I don't see her here. So you can feel free to speak, Judge McLaughlin.
Okay.
Thank you, Melissa, girlfriend. Oh, so I went into North Philly. I was part of the Mayor's Office of Community Service. I went to North Philadelphia and spoke to Black males 25 and under who were having multiple children. And so I went in and had programs to talk to them, to bring them resources, to give them great Black role models that are males that were successful so that they change their point. I also went into the prisons, both male and female prisons, a program called Success In and Out, so that you're successful when you get out, so we don't have recidivism. I have been doing everything in our impoverished communities because I am a single mom of 2 boys, product of our school system. And I could talk a lot of times, but I don't want Sam to kick me out and I don't want to lose votes. But not only did I do that program, I did a ton of programs, Do the Right Thing, read my bio, watch my video. I do not just talk the talk, I walk the walk.
Thank you very much. And you know, folks, if you have extra questions, feel free to utilize chat. But thank you very much, Judge McLaughlin. Thank you very much, Ms. White. Thank you.
So we want to move ahead because I do not see that Judge Canty is here, but we will, oh, there she is. I am wrong.
I was just going to say, I'm here.
And there she is. Well, she's right on time. She is currently a judge in the Court of Common Pleas. She is born and raised here in Philadelphia. She is a woman of God and faith, and I am very honored to introduce her as she pursues a seat on the appellate court, the Superior Court. Welcome, everybody, Judge Deborah Canty.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you guys for having me. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here with you. I just want to give you some background about who I am, how I came to be here, and why I'm running for PA Superior Court. I am sort of kind of born and raised in Philadelphia. So let me just give you a little bit of background. My parents were missionaries to Liberia, West Africa. So while I was born here in Philadelphia, I was actually raised in Liberia until I was 12. And then we returned to Philadelphia, which was both of my parents' home city. I graduated from public school here in Philadelphia and went to Messiah University now. At the time I went, it was Messiah College, and came back to Philadelphia and started working in the social services arena. And I worked with senior citizens, I worked with adults with both physical and mental disabilities, and I worked with children and families. And it was that work that caused me to go back to University of Pennsylvania to get my master's in social work. While I was at University of Pennsylvania, I had been considering law school, but I had the opportunity to participate in an internship at the Public Defender's Office in their juvenile unit here in Philadelphia. And that sealed the deal for me. And so I applied to Temple Law School and graduated from Temple. I started working in a law firm here in the city, Montgomery, McCracken, Walker, and Rhodes, and then went in-house counsel. But where my heart really was with people, with families, working on behalf of citizens of Philadelphia. And so I took a huge pay cut, went to the City of Philadelphia Law Department in their child welfare unit and started working on behalf of children and families. And the reason I love that job so much is the mandate was to preserve the unity of the family whenever possible. And so I did that for 9 years and then ran for judge here in Philadelphia. When I ran for judge, I can tell you, I believe that the people heard my story and they believed in my commitment to children, to families, to people in general, and they wanted to put me on the bench. They believed that I would be fair, that I would be impartial, that I would be a voice for the people. And I can tell you, I have delivered on that promise. I have been sitting in family court since I was elected. The cases that I've heard, of all the appeals I had, not one has been overturned by Superior Court. And that is because I take my time. I allow people to come in. I allow attorneys to put on their case. I allow parents to be disrespectful because sometimes I understand that when you're in family court, you are dealing with your children being taken from you. And that doesn't always make you feel good. And so I recognize that being on the bench isn't about me. It's about doing what's right for families. And so I can tell you that the people who come in my courtroom, there have been times when I've offered to recuse myself. They don't want me to recuse myself because they believe that they are going to get a fair shot in my courtroom. So why am I running for Superior Court? I'm running for Superior Court for the same reasons I ran for family court. I'm running to be a voice for children. I'm running to be an advocate for families. I'm running to be, because people in the Commonwealth not just in Philadelphia, but all across the Commonwealth, there is an overrepresentation of minorities in the criminal justice system, but an underrepresentation of minorities on the judicial system. And so that's why I'm running. I believe my background is uniquely situated for this time because I am going to take my compassion, my integrity, my advocacy for children, for families, not just to make things good here in Philadelphia, but all across the Commonwealth. So I'm asking for your support.
Thank you very, very much, Judge Canty. You were totally under time, but that's great because we can make up for a little bit of time. Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation. It's a pleasure to have you here. Next up, we have our own Philadelphians, Judge George Twardy, who he and I have seen each other so many times in the past on the campaign trail, and he is now a judge, and we welcome him here, Judge George Twardy.
Thank you. It's always been a pleasure. Hello, Philly for Change. Sam, I don't know if Dave's on there, but you know, the one thing that I always enjoyed attending Philly for Change meetings is, you know, a nice glass of an IPA or two thereafter. You get the juices flowing. You have your opportunity to get up there and speak in front of everyone. And you had quite a full calendar tonight, so I'll try to give you the shorter version. Hello, everyone. My name is George Twardy, and I'm here to ask for your endorsement and support as I run for a judge of the Court of Common Pleas. Like Judge McLaughlin, who's running for Superior Court, I too was born and raised in the Overbrook section of Philadelphia. I currently now reside in Fishtown with my wife and children, and I currently serve on the Court of Common Pleas, and I'm assigned to the Family Court Division in the same building and very close to Judge Canty, who just finished speaking. Last June, I was honored to be appointed by Governor Wolf and unanimously confirmed by the Senate. Prior to serving as a judge, I was a practicing attorney for taking on both criminal and civil cases for over 30 years. For several years, I also served as a truancy hearing officer. They used to call them master hearing officers now in family court, where I would teach kids the importance of a simple thing of attending school every day. I also served as a hearing officer for the Supreme Court Disciplinary Board, protecting the integrity of the legal profession. As an attorney for over 30 years, I spent my entire career fighting to solve people's problems and correct injustices, whether it be the wrongfully accused, persons victimized by negligence, overbearing landlords, or protecting those who face discrimination. In all cases, I represented people with real problems who needed an advocate to solve these problems. In social settings, when asked what I do, I would tell people I'm a social worker with a law degree. Along the way, I've represented many people in my practice who couldn't afford an attorney. Simply put, I have spent my career caring about people. At the time of my appointment to the bench, which was in June of this year, 2020, the court was faced with a global pandemic. As you know, many courts were closed, caseloads backed up, and there was tremendous civil unrest. Protests sprung up all over our country demanding awareness of racial inequality, criminal justice, reform, and empathy for those victimized by systemic racism. It's for that fact I was honored to have been chosen by the governor and his staff to fill much needed vacancies in the court as a person who had demonstrated a background and past experience, capable of and sensitive to these issues and bring about such reforms. Since my appointment in June to the bench, when I've said before, when most courts were closed, I have made sure to keep access to my courtroom, family court open, whether in person or virtually, to keep everyone as safe as possible while making sure that families had the opportunity to get their cases heard. Every day I start my courtroom on time at 9, and I make sure that I to actively listen to each side and make decisions fairly and equitably. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to serve Philadelphians as I take on and I take this responsibility very seriously. As I said, I'm assigned to the family court. The cases that I preside over are custody cases where the one parent is relocating to another state. The outcome of those decisions are very hurtful to one side, because one side is not going to see their child as much as that person would like to, or that parent would like to. In each and every case, I try to consider all the factors, and it weighs heavy on me whether or not I make the right decision. But ultimately, I'm guided by what's in the best interest of the child, and I try to do what's fair, and I try to reverse the roles. And sometimes I go home and I think, I don't know if I considered this fact, that I should maybe rethink this. And I come back sometimes and I'll change that decision because I want to get it right. Kids have a right. Kids are so much better off when two parents are in their lives, and especially when they want to. And if you have one parent that wants to be their past background, or perhaps as litigants get contentious, want to argue about one parent's background and say a past criminal conviction, and another one substance abuse. I work hard to scratch deeper than just the surface allegations to find out if the parties are appropriately addressing that, if the child's safety is at an issue, or is it just allegations being tossed by two angry parents that can't get along with one another, and ultimately to decide what's in the best interest of the child. That's the reason I'm running. We need more judges like that recognize today's problems and care about people that are in front of them. As a sitting judge, I have demonstrated the integrity, fairness, and experience so greatly needed on the bench. Each and every day, I strive to improve our system of justice. With your support, I will be able to continue to do so as a judge of the Court of Common Pleas. I thank you for taking time to listen to me tonight. And again, my name is George Twardy, and I'm asking for your support and your vote on May 18th.
Thank you very much, George. We appreciate that presentation and we wish you well. And we are ahead of schedule. Yay, Sam. Next, I want to introduce a most gracious person that's here. He was one of the first people to arrive here tonight. He is a dear friend. Over the past years, you name the fundraiser, he is there. You name the reason to come out and support the community, he is there. And truly, it is my honor to know that this fine gentleman is running for the Court of Common Pleas. I run into him and his husband all the time, and it's always a pleasure to see them. But here he is. He is taking a big step to pursue a position on the bench here in the city of Philadelphia. I'd like to welcome Gregory Yorgey-Girdy. Welcome, Greg.
Thank you, Melissa. I appreciate that. And thank you, Philly for Change. I promise you I'll be brief. I know us as attorneys can be a little mouthy at times, so I know it's late and we all have to get to bed. But let me start by saying my name is Greg Yorgey-Girdy. I'm running for judge for the Philadelphia Court of Common Pleas. I'm running for judge so I can use my experience as an attorney, a social justice advocate, and a community organizer to bring a needed perspective to our court system, which I believe is fundamentally broken. If elected, I would be the first openly gay Black judge elected to the Common Pleas Court. I spent the last several years committed to getting involved in organizing my community. As an elected Democratic committee person, co-chair of Liberty City LGBT+ Democratic Club, and organizer of the last summer's Philly Queer March for Black Lives, which drew thousands to the Parkway and brought intersection of LGBT+ and Black activists and allies together. I'm seeking your support because I believe I am uniquely positioned to fight for all people if elected to the bench. I think it's really important to bring procedural justice to the bench. That means to establish atmosphere of respect for all people. In my professional life, I worked as an attorney since 2002, where I began my legal career serving as an assistant city solicitor for the city of Philadelphia. I'm a proud husband and father of 3 beautiful children, although sometimes they can be quite annoying. You probably can hear them now. I grew up in rural Texas, and I was raised by my family with values of hard work, giving back to my community, and respect for others. I would be honored to receive your support, and I thank you all for your time. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Hi, I have a question. How are you doing? Can you hear me?
How are you? You're a neighbor, by the way. You're in Point Breeze, right? Yes, I can.
Yes, in Point Breeze. How are you? How you
Can you hear
been?
me? I'm
Question. You
good.
said
I'm good. I'm well. Thank you.
That's what's up. You said you grew up in rural Texas, right? What made you come to
Yes.
Philly? What made you
Yes.
pick Philadelphia? I was just curious, just to ask.
Okay, I'm a big fan of being really honest with you. I had to get away from my family. We're really close, and it's not a negative thing. We always make decisions together. And if I wanted to pass the bar and to do well, I had to move to Philly.
Okay.
And I moved to Philly, and I fell in love with it. And I decided to make a family here and grow roots here. It's funny because as a committee person in your area, actually, I'm in Ward 48. One of the biggest things that people would ask me, where have you been? Where are you from? Because I'm not from Philly. And I always tell them I'm not from Philly, but Philly is my home now.
Right. Thanks for answering that. You know, because that is a Philadelphia thing. People be like, wait a minute, you're not from here, especially South Philly too. Gregory, you know, it's been like that for years.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, I know. No, I embrace it. You know what? Now people just know me by name. I think you have to earn that respect. And I think it's important to be respectful. And being part of the bench, I think it's important to see Black men on the bench, even Black gay men. We don't have any. I'm there to represent. I think I'm qualified. I need to be a representative of all people. It's important.
Awesome.
Thank you.
That's great. Are there any other questions for Mr. Yorgey-Girdy?
Yeah, it's a difficult name. You did well though.
I'm unique in how bad I am. And I taught for 15 years, and I at the college level, and I still mangle names more or less every day. But
this is a strange name.
Well, I think we do a fine job of pulling it off. We meet so many people, and we're so blessed here at Philly for Change to be a place where, regardless of what level of office you're running for, city, state, you know, as far as the governor, the senators, U.S. senators, we have candidates from far and wide come to Philly for Change. Sam can tell you from years and years back over at the Tattooed Mom, everyone comes to get our endorsement, and truly we're humbled to have you all here tonight. So we're going to continue to move along. I just got a text from Judge Dumas, who's going to join us shortly, but we can go ahead and move along. I think, Beth, you're up next.
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, well, I am very excited to introduce my friend, Wendi Barish, who's going to tell you about her candidacy for judge. I will tell you, in the interest of transparency, I am the treasurer for her campaign, so I'm a little bit biased, but I'm excited that she's here to talk to you all, and I will let her tell you all about herself. Wendi,
I want to apologize first for being late, but because you gave me 8 minutes, I'm going to tell you I was late because I don't need 8 minutes. I was volunteering and judging a high school mock trial competition. And it really warmed my heart. I just have to tell you that these kids from all public schools across the state participate. So I was judging around in Philadelphia, and the last 4 years have been utterly exhausting. But seeing these kids from all different backgrounds, from all different schools, and just it was so heartwarming. Like, I just can't even begin to tell you. So I am sorry I was late, but I'm not really sorry, because that was an incredible experience to have, to see the resilience in these kids, because these are the kids that are our future, and to see how they can pivot and do something that's so difficult in front of all of these people that would normally be at the Criminal Justice Center, to see them do this on a Zoom It was just so heartwarming. So that's why I was late. Many of you already know me. I have been running to be a judge, it seems like for a decade, but it's really been 6 years. I threw my hat in the ring after the last presidential election because I've been a civil rights attorney for more than 20 years, and I panicked after that election about what priority civil rights in this country would be given. And my worst fears came to light over the last 4 years. And the last 4 years have also demonstrated how important judges are. Everyone in the city, someone in your life is going to be before a judge one day. I don't know.
Sorry, I muted you by accident. My
I don't know
fault.
where I left off. I'm just going to keep going. So about myself, I was born and raised in Northeast Philadelphia. I'm a proud product of the public school system of this city. I was raised for the most part in the home of my grandparents after my parents split up. And I left Philadelphia to go to college and law school, but Philadelphia was always home. I left because I went to the schools that gave me the most money. And I came back here because I received a lot of social services growing up from this city. And it was important to me to want to give back. When I started my career, I did employment law, and I was representing first employees who were suing when they were discriminated against in the workplace. And then I switched to the management side, and I was nervous about that, but I really liked making people do the right thing. It was really empowering to do that. And I rose up within a private practice. I was a partner at a law firm, and in December of 2015, I knew I did not want to spend the rest of my legal career in a law firm. And I took a job at the Philadelphia Housing Authority because I wanted a challenge, and they need a lot of help there. They need help for the services they provide, and they need help for the employees that work there because there was a lot of turmoil there under prior administrations. So I took that job. It's 5 years later. I'm now the senior deputy general counsel there, and I'm also the acting VP of HR. It's important to me to be in a role where I can do things to give back to my community. I do it both at work and I do it both personally. I've been on the board for a number of nonprofits in the city. Career Wardrobe is a board that is very important to me. They're now called the Wardrobe. That helps women. At first it was just women, now it's men and women when they're coming out of re-entering life, when they're coming back home. Most people don't have the kind of clothes you need for an interview. That organization makes sure that people have the clothing they need, the interviewing skills, and helps them with their resumes. I also did some work with a settlement music school. My grandfather who raised me was a musician, and I know that music can save a child's life, and that organization was important to me because they allow children to take music lessons no matter what the financial needs are. I am running now because this city, as a result of COVID, we are going to see so much litigation and so many people in this court system. The ramifications of what's happening in the city and across the country are going to play out in the court system because people are out of work, people can't afford their housing, and there are going to be a floodgate of things that are coming to the court. It's important to have judges on the bench that understand people, that understand the people, the needs in the city. And people ask me, about your background. I haven't done criminal law, but I have a father who has a record. And I know when you sentence a person, you're sentencing a family for generations to come. And it's important to be aware of that when you're on the criminal side of things. And I know what it's like when you're dealing with the family courts because I went through it as a kid growing up in a split up family. Was lucky enough to have the support of Philly for Change when I ran last time. It would be very meaningful for me to have your support again. Philly needs a change. We need judges on the bench who care about the people in this city and who are strong enough to be able to do the right thing. And people all the time, they mistake my kindness for weakness, always a mistake. You can be kind to people, but you can still be strong. And we need judges that have that foundation, that care about the people in the city and that are going to do a good job. And I humbly and with conviction ask for your support again in this race. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you very much, Wendi. We love you so much. Wendi has been with Philly for Change since I got there. So she's a hard worker, and I wish you well on your run. and much success, Wendi. She's a wonderful person. And Beth, I can understand why you are her treasurer. So we're going to move it right along. Up next, we do have Judge Dumas. I have to be transparent. I'm a huge fan of this lady. Before I knew who she was and what she did, this lady would stop me in the streets because she knew I was a huge advocate and activist, and she would tell me to stay the course, keep moving. And I appreciate her now, and I appreciate her then for always being a good support. And then I realized one day, oh my God, that pretty lady is a judge, and she is here today. She is Judge Lori Dumas. She was elected to the Court of Common Pleas in 2003. She was retained in 2013. She received her undergraduate at Duke University, her JD at North Carolina Central. She's currently on the Court of Common Pleas, and she is pursuing a position on the Commonwealth Court on the appellate level. Everyone, welcome Judge Lori Dumas.
Wow, that was a great introduction. Thank you, Melissa. I really appreciate it. And I'm so honored to come before you tonight. I didn't have an opportunity to come before you guys almost 20 years ago because I don't think this group was active then, but I'm so happy that we have groups like this that have stepped up to the plate to make sure that the leaders that are chosen in this city are those who are accountable, responsible, and who do care for people. So I thank you for your work. My name is Lori Dumas, and I am sitting on the Common Pleas bench. I've been there. It'll be 19 years on the 22nd of February, and I'm so proud of that because I have had the unique opportunity to serve our citizens from the bench for a very long time, since I was a young lady. When I took the bench at 32, I was told I was too young. I looked a lot younger than I do now, but that time on the bench helped me to grow tremendously, not just as a judge, as a person, as a mother, as a woman, as a citizen, because day in and day out, having the opportunity to hear cases from people who really needed their voices heard, because as you know, our court system is very scary to a lot of people. And when I started in family court, where there were some of the most vulnerable situations, vulnerable children, vulnerable families, scared to death that judges were going to take their children away. Judges were going to, break up families. And unfortunately, sometimes it did take that. It took those hard decisions, because what I was sworn to do and my passion was to make sure that every one of my decisions was rooted in the best interest of every child that came in front of me. And unfortunately, that meant making hard decisions sometimes, which did cause a breakup in the family. But I was committed to making sure that the system on the other end did everything possible to bring those families back together in a more healthy way. So human trafficking was my passion project when I was there. It is still my passion, because even though I'm not hearing those cases anymore, I am still passionately and involved, and I am dedicated to eradicating human trafficking as it relates to our babies. I started the only juvenile human trafficking court in the United States at the time. Now we have other initiatives because Philly has really put that issue on the map through our court system and our educating the stakeholders, and me being able to go across the United States, teaching other jurisdictions and other judges what they need to do to be proactive in this fight against trafficking. And I am proud of that. I'm proud to bring that that prize, if you will, home. That belongs to us as Philadelphians first, as Pennsylvanians second. So after the 15 years that I spent in family court, I then went to major trials in the criminal division, and I'm now in the civil division. And over the course of my judicial career, I'm not even counting all of the time that I spent as an attorney, but over the course of my judicial career, I've handled thousands of juries and non-jury cases in different areas: criminal, civil, family law. That makes me uniquely qualified to now take all of this experience and this passion for the people to the next level, which is the Commonwealth Court. The Commonwealth Court hears cases that are germane to all of us as Pennsylvanians. I have tirelessly and honorably served Philadelphia. Now I want to serve Pennsylvania from a higher level. I want my decisions to really impact systems that impact us as a whole state. And so I'm asking for your support, because without you, I cannot do it. I didn't have your support before, but I'm asking for it now because I really need all hands on deck to bring this home. One more thing, this court does not have any people of color on it at all. The last time there was a person of color on this court was over 10 years ago when the Honorable Doris Smith sat. And I will tell you, I want the opportunity to walk in her footsteps, because if you know anything about Judge Smith, you know she was a trailblazer. She cared about our children. She cared about Pennsylvania. And I want the opportunity to be able to continue her legacy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Judge Dumas. You come with a world of experience, and it is my hope that Pennsylvanians will be able to benefit from your years and years and years of expertise in serving us. So thank you very much for joining us here tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
So
we're gonna keep.
Oh, wait, can I ask a quick question, Melissa? Sorry.
Go right ahead, Beth.
Judge Dumas, I think you're probably in a good position to answer this. Can you just explain for us the difference between the different courts in Pennsylvania? Because I think we've heard for 4 different types of courts tonight, and I'm not sure I understand the differences, and I think probably a lot of people might not know.
Great question, Beth.
Absolutely, absolutely. Hi, Tiffany. Yes.
Hi, Judge Dumas. I'm so excited for you. I'm sorry.
So our PA Supreme Court is our highest court in Pennsylvania. So that would be the court where those decisions stop there. That's the highest court, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. There's one position open for that this go round. Right underneath the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, you have the 2 intermediate appellate courts, which are the Commonwealth Court and the Superior Court. The Commonwealth Court hears appeals from civil, they hear criminal appeals, they hear all of the appeals from the trial court, which is the Common Pleas Court level, which is the level that I'm on. They hear those. The Commonwealth Court hears specialty cases. All of the regulatory appeals go to Commonwealth Court. Your election cases go to Commonwealth Court. Your cases like banking, workers' comp, your school district cases, your DHS cases, and any case where the Commonwealth itself is a party, meaning they're suing or being sued, that goes to Commonwealth Court. But Commonwealth and Superior are on that same tier. Underneath Commonwealth Court are your trial court judges, which is where I am now, the Common Pleas Court. That's the trial court level that hears cases that if they're appealed, they then go up. Right underneath us is the Municipal Court. I'm not sure if we have any Municipal Court candidates, but that would be our first level, sort of like the People's Court, then us, Common Pleas, then Superior and Commonwealth, then the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania.
Thank you. That was very
I hope
helpful.
that helps. And if you take a look at my website, I actually have that there, that whole diagram, and I have an explanation of Commonwealth Court more in detail as well. So
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Beth, that was a great question for anyone who's here with us who does not know the different levels of court and how they serve people across the Commonwealth. So that was an excellent question. And thank you very much for that thorough explanation, Judge Dumas. Our last candidate for tonight, he was on here first, and he was very, very patient, and he deserves a round of applause for being one of the first people here and the last person to go. He is running for the Court of Common Pleas. His name is Nick Kamau. And I want to say that I found out that his alma mater is Howard University. Go VP. You know,
Bison's in the house.
Yes, yes. So welcome everybody, Nick Kamau.
Thank you very much, Beth, Melissa, Sam, members of
I think he's
muted. Someone muted me.
You were slightly muted. I apologize. Take it from the top.
Okay. Thank you for bearing with me. I know it's been a long evening, so I'm going to keep it relatively brief. I'm running for the Court of Common Pleas. because we need judges with experience, with qualifications, with a commitment to the rule of law, who also care deeply about the people of Philadelphia and who are willing to look at and who desire to look at each individual as human beings and see the humanity within them, as opposed to and only looking at the conduct under which they find themselves in the system. Victims as well as defendants come with a host of circumstances and a host of issues which judges need to be able to take a deep, hard look at. And I think it's incumbent on all judges to do that. And if I am elected to the bench, that's one of the things that I'm going to do. I have 17 years of experience. I worked as a public defender, where I handled thousands of cases for indigent Philadelphians. I worked as a civil plaintiff's attorney, where I represented injury victims, many of whom were poor and underserved. I worked as a civil rights attorney in that same capacity, where I brought forth civil actions for individuals who are wrongfully accused of crime, wrongfully accused and incarcerated, lost their liberty. We fought to bring them justice. I've also worked in the family courts, where I served the city of Philadelphia in the child welfare unit as a supervisor of the Bureau of Hearing Appeals. For the city of Philadelphia, I also worked in the claims unit handling defense cases. So I've seen all sides of the courtroom. Should I be elected to a judge, I would in fact have worked in every single capacity that a Philadelphia judge would be assigned to. So I certainly have the experience necessary to be effective. In addition to my legal work, I've also done some policy work. I was on the Oversight and Government Reform Committee under the Obama administration during the time of Fast and Furious. You may remember the scandal, the email scandal with Hillary Clinton. That was the Oversight and Government Reform Committee, and I was Democratic counsel there. And my responsibilities were to prepare the members of Congress. I was working directly under Ranking Member Elijah Cummings, preparing them for those hearings. And it was a phenomenal experience. And one of the things I say is in 4 years of college and in 3 years of law school, I learned more in the 18 months that I was there than in all of my other experiences. My desire to serve as a judge is deeply rooted in my commitment to equity, racial equity, socioeconomic equity, gender equity. Equity is the foundation of the criminal justice system, all forms of the justice system. And that's something that we certainly need judges who have an understanding of and an appreciation for. My desire to serve on the bench is deeply rooted in my sense of responsibility to poor and underserved communities, which has been demonstrated over the course of my career in my adult life. My desire to be on the bench is deeply rooted in my experiences, both professional and personal. My personal experiences are a little bit different than many others, somewhat unique. I, like President Obama, am the son of an immigrant Kenyan father who immigrated here to get an education. He married my white mother. And one of the things that drives me is my pain, quite frankly, which kind of girds me and pushes me forward. Growing up as a child, I knew from a very early age that my mother's family, most of whom, with the exception of her mother and father, disowned her because she married a Black man. And knowing that this racism and this hate and this vitriol was coming from people who were supposed to love me really had an impact on me. It really shaped my view of the world and my desire to help other people who were experiencing this kind of injustices. It didn't stop there. As a young child, I must have been about 8 years old. I woke up in the middle of the night and ran downstairs. I saw lights flashing and heard sirens, and my parents shooed me away, ushered me back up to my room. And when I woke up in the morning, they had a conversation with me, and they told me that there are some very hateful, sinister people in this world who want to intimidate you and who want to do harm to you because of the color of your skin. Come to find out, a cross was burned in front of our house. And there was a big burned circle in the front of the lawn. It was very painful and scary. absolutely frightening to feel so powerless. And one of the reasons I want to be a judge is because people need a voice. And lawyers bring a voice, and judges implement the law to execute justice, and people need justice. We had death threats, people putting hate mail in our mailbox, the KKK, skinheads. Ultimately, we moved away, and we moved to a much more diverse area. It was in Maryland, but still, as a young adult and even as a professional adult, I still get stopped and taken out of my car and frisked for doing nothing other than driving while being a Black man. And that really forms my desire to fight for justice, to fight for equity. And I decided to go to Howard University School of Law to learn the Constitution from some professors who actually worked on Brown versus the Board of Education to overturn these systems of injustice. After that, I came up to Philadelphia and began working at the Public Defender's Office, where I was able to continue that. And throughout the course of my professional career, I've done so. I believe my personal experiences and my professional experiences equip me to serve as judge in Philadelphia. In Philadelphia, where we have 1 in 3 Black men, 1 in 3 Black men between 18 and 35 will be incarcerated. All right, 80% of all the people in Philadelphia are Black and brown. That is unacceptable. The system has failed us, and we need to do something about it. Now, I don't suggest to say that a judge is a panacea and a judge is going to be able to overturn those systems of injustice. But I am here to say that having a judge with that experience, who is able to implement the law which is designed by and ushered through the criminal justice system by individuals who have experiences and who can relate and who can understand circumstances, is in a position to make a change. And that's what I want to do. I want to make a change for Philadelphia. I want to make a change for this system. And this is a time, and this is the place, and I ask you for your endorsement. Thank you.
Can I just say something? Really, I'm sorry.
You've been saying all night, Tiffany.
I know. Am I pronouncing your last name right? Is it Kamau?
Yes, yeah, Kamau. Like W. Kamau Bell?
Huh?
Have you heard of W. Kamau Bell, the comedian and CNN commentator?
No. But you are my new Facebook friend, by the way.
Okay. Welcome, friend. How you doing?
Listen, your story it just got to my heart, like seriously. And I feel your compassion through this Zoom. Like, I feel that you are sincere about really trying to make a change in the community, especially Black and brown people. And I want you to know that you keep that same spirit, that same compassion, and people will notice that, and that's what will grab them and have them gravitate towards you. So I wish you many blessings on what you're doing. Your story of you being a young boy and witnessing all of that and look at you now. So I just want to say that you're amazing. You're amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
Thank you so much for your transparency. Thank you for making yourself vulnerable. This is a group of people that obviously you've never presented before, and it's tough to run for office. Everyone knows that here, but we thank you for sharing your story, and we wish you well. We wish you well and hope that, you're able to continue to move and represent people who need to be represented. So we thank you very, very much for that presentation. Sam, you want to take it away?
Sure. I just want to thank everybody who participated in our judicial evening tonight. Those were really some great impressive folks, and I was also moved by Mr. Kamau's referencing one of the most impressive people I ever got to spend a little bit of time with, which was the late Representative Elijah Cummings. I had the great opportunity to work for a candidate that he was helpful with, and gosh, what a hardworking, unbelievably, he was somebody who really did the hard work in Congress, and I have a great respect for Representative Cummings. Awesome. Okay, thanks everyone. We will be doing endorsements later in the season. We have our, we will be voting. Folks who have attended to meetups will have the opportunity to cast their ballots. So if you're here and you happen to show up again in between now and our vote, you will be qualified to vote for our endorsements. And that's how Philly for Change has been doing it for close to, for a long time, for close to 15 years. We have a little bit of time left, actually more time than we expected. We did promise to have a conversation of some issues that have been coming up, most particularly coronavirus in the city. Does anyone want to talk about the controversy that has gone on? And okay, there's a little bit of a joke for Philly for Change dealing with this, in that the group that wrongly got a contract with the city is frequently referred to in media as PFC, Philly Fighting COVID, a group that improperly got a contract. Obviously, we are not affiliated. But I know that some of our members have wanted to talk about coronavirus in the city, particularly how the vaccinations are going, and the Philly Fighting COVID debacle has obviously had a toll. Melissa, did you want to talk about that at all?
I do, Sam, and thank you very much for opening it up. And for everyone that's still here, I definitely want to hear your opinion, but I've given this a lot of time. I've done a lot of research, and I've literally read every article just about that's been published around this. And I even took the time to reach out to some of my friends who work for different media outlets around the city, who've had one-on-ones with this student. And I just want to say, you know, for those people who are not from the city of Philadelphia, who look at our largest, most poverty-stricken city as an opportunity for them to come up, they need to be made an example of. You know, we are a city that, yes, we are 26% poverty, and we are a city that is suffering and has suffered, and you all know that. So to have gatekeepers like Dr. Farley, who is the top medical leader, the commissioner, the health official in our city, Philadelphia, a city known as EDS and Meds. Of all of the cities in the nation, we're known for our medical institutions. We're known for our educational institutions. And for Dr. Farley to come from New York, and he was handpicked by Michael Bloomberg to come to Philadelphia and not vet an organization to roll out one of the most important vaccines in the history of our city, and to know that the organization wasn't vetted. No one had medical credentials. By the way, I served in the United States Army. I worked under the license of nurses and doctors to administer IV medications. And from what I saw on that television, I didn't see any sterile fields at all. And that's from the naked eye looking on television. To know that this 22-year-old went in saying that he didn't want to make any money, and then switched paperwork and turned to for-profit and planned to get reimbursements from insurance companies, and was given $194,000 for the city to conduct testing around the city. But then when it turned to the contract, that was never written. There was never a contract. There was never a contractual agreement. So there's no stipulations. So we can't go back to any piece of paper. This was verbal, to know that he was given the $194,000 to go into the most underrepresented and deprived communities. And as soon as he got that money, do you know what he did? He stopped pop-ups. He was hosting pop-ups in Black and brown communities. Pop-ups, but he was given $194,000 to conduct testing sites like the Black Doctors Consortium was. But as soon as he started administering and he received those 7,000 dosages, no more testing was done in Black and brown communities. So this is a person who was literally playing on the vulnerability of people throughout our city. It is disgusting that the Black Doctors Consortium, Dr. Ayla Stanford, who has been a medical physician for over 23 years and a surgeon, she was told to follow him and partner with him. Dr. Farley must resign, and I am appalled that our mayor is standing beside Dr. Farley. This could have been a catastrophe. No one that was working with the 22-year-old was a licensed nurse, a licensed LPN, or even a CNN. These were a CNA. These were students, medical students. How dare they insult Philadelphians and take us for granted? And we found out that some of city council members, Councilmember Bobby Heenan was there. He knew about it. He also had an opportunity to take vaccines home. His family was vaccinated. Cindy Bass, who sits on the Health and Human Services Committee, she was also there. But a lot of members of council told me personally that they had no knowledge of this organization or the vetting process. So what I see is Philadelphians being made a complete fool of all over the nation. I have people calling me far and wide asking me, Melissa, what the hell is going on with the leadership in the city of Philadelphia? I'm embarrassed. And I'm also angry because this could have gone really, really, really bad. Mayor Kenny needs to demand that Dr. Farley resign. So that's where I'm at with it.
Did any, are there any folks who want to talk about anything related to vaccinations in the city, or specifically the Philly fighting COVID incident?
I would just like to say I agree 100%, Melissa, with everything that you just said. I think it's disgusting what happened. I agree about Dr. Farley. But what I really want to say is that for anyone who's looking to get a vaccine, the Black Doctors Consortium has been doing an amazing job. There are like clinics, people who don't even have an appointment can sometimes line up at the Leah Center at Temple. Everyone I know who's gotten the vaccine in the area has gotten it through them. So I hope that, the city uses them going forward, because that organization has done a really great job. And honestly, what happened with that 22-year-old startup situation is embarrassing.
Thank you, Candace.
Hey, Sam.
Hey, Wendi.
So the words, Melissa, like the more you talk about it, it's just the perfect example of what implicit bias is. The way that this went down, it is exactly the perfect example of implicit bias. And the other thing, and I know people are hard on me sometimes saying, you work at the housing authority, this and that. We have been trying, because the majority of the population we serve are Black and brown people. We've been trying to get from the city vaccinations. So because when you look at those numbers of who's getting it and who's not, it's completely discriminatory. And we've been working with the city, and it's like until we started saying things about race, now the city is allocating only 50 injections a week for PHA to start administering. And we're only working with the Black Doctors Consortium. So we've been with them from day one, and we went to the city and said, you need to start releasing some of the vaccines to us, because we house so many people in the city that are in the vulnerable population of who's getting it. And the Black Doctors Consortium is amazing. And the one issue that's come up that our CEO, when I'm on these meetings, there's been a lot of hesitation, he said, among the communities we serve. Rightfully so, there's been a distrust among the Black and brown population to go and get the vaccine because of what's happened in history. So I jumped at the chance, and they said what they want to see is they want to see white people getting it and not dying. So I was one of the first people. Last Thursday was the first time that we got any vaccines for the Black Doctors Consortium, and I went and got vaccinated because we've been trying to set an example. So we have some people on our board, and we have a pretty diverse workforce. So we made sure that we were showing people by example. Our CEO got it. He's an African-American male. I got it, our police chief. So we've been doing this to try, but it's been horrible trying to work with the city to try to get this done. And it's disgusting because the Black Doctors Consortium is doing this right. And it's implicit bias all over it. And it's not acceptable.
It seems like explicit bias to me.
Yeah.
Both.
There's that, Stan. There's that. Thank you.
I mean, I agree. I couldn't have said it better, Melissa. It's just crazy. But I had a question I'm curious about, since we talked about candidates running for office tonight, what about ballot access petitions in time of COVID? How's that work? Does anyone know yet?
So my understanding is that in Harrisburg, they're trying to pass some legislation to make it so that you don't have to have 1,000 signatures, but I don't think that they're going to get it done by the time we need to start collecting signatures. So I don't know if Mary Isaacson is still on, but she might be able to comment on that.
He's there.
I heard that question. I was like, oh, turn on the video.
Oh, you knew I was going to call on you, Mary. I don't know if you want to say anything or.
Look, no, we're actually sunshined through the end of this week, and then we are off for appropriation hearings for the next couple weeks, which will take us in well past, what is it, February 16th is the first day? You're all judicial candidates, you all know the date. So we're not going to be in session before that, so nothing's happening before that, so it's going to be just like any other time. So I would suggest that you invest in lots of spray hand sanitizer, lots of pens, and get your army together who can get you good signatures, and try and do it as safely as possible. But I think that people believe in the democracy, and they understand that, as I say to people, you're not a candidate until you get on the ballot. It's easy to say you're a candidate, but you're not until you're on the ballot. So get your sanitizer, get your pens, and because I really don't see this happening in the next 2 days.
What is Craig holding up there?
He has one of my sanitizers.
Very
from
high
primary.
sanitizer.
Awesome.
Hey, I had to go through a primary in the middle of the beginning of the pandemic. We had to make sure that it was safe for people to vote.
So before we sign off, I just want to say, we here in Philadelphia, we have an opportunity to lead. I look at our city as a leader. We're referred to as a city of first. We are the birthplace of the American experiment. And a lot of cities and towns around the nation look to Philadelphia. They see that we have a trans flag flying high above city council. They see that we have a neighborhood. A lot of people from around the nation move here because they feel comfortable. They know this is a place that is very, very progressive. And when there's an injustice around the nation, people Philadelphians pour out in the street. You see what happens. You saw what happened this summer. And you've seen, even going back to Occupy Philadelphia, you see that Philadelphians are not afraid to take to the streets and stand up for what is right. So I say to you all, and Dr. King said it best, an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And we all know that. And right now, between the most recent public lynching of George Floyd on May 25th, and you saw the civil unrest, and you saw how poorly that was handled. People were gassed, rubber bullets. You see this debacle playing out. It's embarrassing to see how our students are being treated, the underfunding and the conditions of our schools that our kids have had to, study in for year after year after year. And now we're looking at, here we are. I had COVID. My daughter had COVID. My 82-year-old mother had COVID, and we all survived it, thank God. But a lot of people did not survive it, right? A lot of people have family members who are not here, and my heart bleeds for them. So to know that our city leaders have failed us when it comes to COVID, and here our President Biden is trying to get out as many dosages around the nation as humanly possible. Pharmacies far and wide are now going to receive dosages. I challenge everyone on this Zoom tonight. If you've ever attended a Black Lives Matter march, ask yourself, why did you attend? If you have a Black Lives Matter or hate has no home here in your yard or your window, ask yourself, why did you elect to stand behind those words? And use your power to demand justice. If you're white and you know that you don't experience discrimination, use your voice for those of us who do. For Nick to get on here and tell us that he was a child and saw a cross in his yard, I personally don't know what the hell I would have done. I would probably still be traumatized, but he's not. He's a public servant. So I challenge every one of you tonight to use your voice. We don't have to politicize this. What happened here in the city of Philadelphia is an atrocity. People need to be held accountable. What that 22-year-old did was criminal, because you all know if he had been 22-year-old Black, he would have never gotten the opportunity to do it. But if he had, he would have been charged and in handcuffs by now. And you know that if Dr. Farley had been a woman or Black, he would have been forced to resign. As you all see, the deputy health commissioner, a female, what did she do? She resigned, right? Why did she resign? Why isn't her boss resigning? So I challenge you all to use your voices, use your power and your position to stand up for what's right. We can't just talk it. We have to show it through our actions. So I challenge you all tonight. Thank you all for being here. Sam, you want to have the last say? I really appreciate it tonight.
Yes, thank you. We do usually also, if there are any announcements that people have. Are there any announcements? Lisa, anything you wanted to throw in there?
Hi, everybody. Just a quick hello. Thanks for all you do. Tonight was a great night. You had a lot of great candidates. As Representative Isaacson said, it is very unlikely. It's not going to happen. They're not going to change the nominating petition requirements. So, we wish everybody just remains safe and acknowledges that there is a pandemic. The first day to circulate is February the 16th. Just a little piece of advice from a candidate who knows and has been doing this a long time. If the weather's nice on February 17th, get them done, because invariably either the first week or the second week it snows, and you're out there with frozen pens. So we want to make sure that people take advantage of whatever nice weather they get. Sanitizers, pens, we can get this done, and just make sure to do it in a safe fashion. Also remember that our election boards are up at this time. So anybody that is interested in being a judge of election or an inspector of election, that all comes into play this election, and those petitions will be available online next week. So we encourage you to take an active part in democracy, an active role in democracy in your division, and become a board worker. you know, there was a lot said about the COVID. I will say about the, you know, Philly fighting COVID. I will say one of the most reassuring things that I did see this week was that Stephanie Reed is going to have a part in the education and outreach for the vaccination progress as we continue past this god awful period. And I can just say from my own experience, Stephanie Reed, she did some great job for the city with the census. She worked with us in the commissioner's office on this with the satellite offices. She got them up and running and coordinated that whole effort for us. So I have a little bit of I have a lot of confidence in Stephanie's ability to help turn the page on this. And everybody just stay safe. And thanks again.
Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, obviously, as far as the coronavirus issue goes, this is something we're going to have to come back to, right? Something that in our future conversations, and I do look forward to these conversations at the end of Meetup.
Hey, Sam.
Yeah.
I'm going to shamelessly plug here because I am a politician.
Oh, yeah.
I'm having a town hall tomorrow night.
That's
to
right.
Talk about the budget that the governor just presented. And I'm happy to talk about COVID. But so if anybody wants to join in, you just look on my social media and you can see how to sign up. But we can have an in-depth discussion on all this stuff if you want.
Awesome. Thank you, Mary. Dorothy says hi. Great. So we meet again. The one thing about February is unless it's a leap year, it'll be on the 3rd in March. So we'll see you again Wednesday, March 3rd. And look for more on COVID, probably more candidates for other offices. And thank you all again for showing up.
Good night.
Good night.
Night. Night.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks, Beth and Melissa.
Thanks, Anna.